So let's get into that main event of UFC Columbus. Curtis Blaydes doesn't attempt a single takedown and gets the TKO win over Chris Daukaus 17 seconds into round two. So, Dominic, Curtis Blaydes, we said this might have been his last chance and that he really needed to show us something here. Well, was this the performance you were looking for out of Curtis Blaydes? And ultimately, how much, if so, I guess, how much did this performance really improve his stock for the future, you think, with the company?
I think it was a big one. I think he needed this. We were saying, or I know I said that if he lost, this could definitely, he's out of the title picture.
I
Matt,
said he might be cut.
yeah, you took it a step further. So he came out here. He proved a lot of people wrong. I didn't really know how this fight was going to go, but I didn't expect this. I didn't. Curtis has shown, like in the Derek Lewis fight, he was striking with him, but then he went for the takedown, got knocked out. But then against Rosenstruik, he went back to just wrestling again. Maybe I don't know, he didn't want to strike at all with him. So then he comes in here and he kind of implements the game plan he had in round one against Lewis, where he was striking back and forth with Daukaus. And he had good shots in the first round too. So he honestly, to me, just shows that he's working on that striking because he knows the grappling's there. And especially at heavyweight, when you don't have to be some ace, he is so far ahead. I mean, 62 takedowns, he's like far above the second place person for heavyweight takedowns. So now that his striking, it looks like it's starting to catch up, man. I mean, he looks crisp and clean. The power's there. This is big time for Curtis Blaydes. Still only 31 years old. He's won 2 in a row. No, it's crazy, but he could be in the circumstance again where he is at one more fight, and if he can win, he can get to the title, but can he win it? Because when he's been there before, he still hasn't gotten it done. But this version we're seeing of Curtis Blaydes, he might be able to get there.
I loved this performance from Curtis Blaydes. He's been called just a wrestler for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
been called boring. He's even kind of doubled down at times. Like I remember when he had that really boring but dominant win over Alexander Volkov. He sort of leaned into being kind of almost like in a heelish way
Yep.
when fans, came after him about the performance. He kind of said, "I'm going to do that." He's like, "I'll do that for 25 minutes. I don't care if you like it or not."
Yeah.
But I guess that maybe that wasn't completely true because then you see here, like, he kind of wanted to prove a point.
And he
He
did.
said, "What can you say now?" He said, "I did that.
Yep.
They were expecting a takedown, and I went through hands."
Yeah. Against a great
So,
boxer.
and you know, and everybody knows that if he really wanted to, he probably still could have got that fight to the ground
Yeah.
and won the fight that way. So it was a statement win for sure at the expense of Chris Daukaus. And I guess I have a hard time though being able to also say while wanting to shred a lot or shed a lot of praise here for Blades. I also have to admit that I still don't know how much ground he's made up with the company or
Mm-hmm.
ultimately the title picture because right now heavyweight's in a good place, but I guess that also means that it's at Curtis Blades' expense potentially because there's about 6 guys in the mix, not
Yeah.
including the champion Ngannou. You got Cyril Gane, you have Stipe,
Mm-hmm.
you have Tom Aspinall, Tai Tuivasa, Curtis Blades now in here. John Jones is still
Yep.
lingering around. What a loaded title picture this is at
Crazy.
this point. I mean, we just talked a week ago about Tom Aspinall, Tai Tuivasa
Yeah.
being a potential interim title fight, and they're 2 of the lesser names than of those guys we just mentioned. 2 of
Yep.
the least experienced, maybe is the better way to put it. So I don't think he called for a title shot. Don't think he's going to get it. He called for an interim title shot
With
against
Gone.
Cyril Gane.
Yeah.
Interesting call out. I would love to see that fight. Actually, I think that might be the next matchup he gets is
I
Cyril
think so
Gane
too.
in
Yeah.
a 5-round main event. I think that'd be fantastic. Really have to test Cyril Gane's wrestling defense,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it'll be for a title. Do you disagree, or are you on the same page?
That's a good question, man. There's so much in the up in the air that I don't know. Like, because it seems like the front runner for an interim title, if you think in the company's mind, would probably be Stipe and John. like as their front runner. If we can do one, that's the one, right?
Yeah,
But if
basically
that,
if they could, no, money
yes,
aside, that would be who they'd pick.
but if that, like, say John doesn't come back, or I don't know, let's say that doesn't happen, then you've got a mixture of people. You could do Gon Tuivasa, Gon Aspinall, Tuivasa Aspinall, Curtis Blaydes versus either three of those guys. Like, there's so many combinations. It's like those math problems back in the day where it's like, how many combinations can you do with these oranges, apples, and bananas? That's what it
Yeah.
feels like right now for that interim title, because it is going to happen this year. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to implement it because of the surgery that Ngannou's going through. I do think Blades and Gon make sense. I think that should be next. I can't go out and say it'll be for the interim title. Yes or
Yeah.
no? I can't. I don't know.
To me, I would say no. I'm
You
pretty
say no.
firm, and this is not that I don't think it wouldn't be worthy of that placement. It's just I look at, and I could be underestimating how the UFC might view. I mean, they made Curtis Blades feel like a pretty big deal here in the main
Yeah.
event in the arena,
Yes.
but I also think that's kind of their job. But I think in terms of the people making these decisions, Dana and the boys, as I like to call them, I feel like out of those six guys I just named, I think number six is Curtis Blades.
So do you think? So you want to see Gon Blades? So say that's what they do, and say it's not for the interim title. Do you think like that Aspinall and Tuivasa still makes more sense for the interim belt then, compared to
So,
Gon
so
Blades?
the two matchups that you just mentioned, I would say, I would probably say, I don't want to go all the way with it because I haven't
Mm-hmm.
thought about it long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Blades and Gon would be the more deserving of having an
Mm-hmm.
interim belt, but I think that Aspinall Tuivasa would be the one that would get it.
Yeah. That's
Both guys riding a wave of momentum right now.
Yeah.
They're the future of your division. Why not give one of them that shine now, even if they ultimately come up short against Ngannou? They've been elevated
Mm-hmm.
to a point where they're going to last quite a while in the picture. Now, Blades is just, he might be just damaged goods in the UFC's eyes. He's lost twice to the champion, Francis Ngannou. What kind of market will there be for
Yeah.
a third title fight? Now, the second one was the main event in a card in China that was airing at like 6 in the morning. I don't
Yeah.
think many people in America watched that, so maybe you could sell a third fight, but
Yeah.
it's hard. And then you have Derek Lewis, who I mean, really, Derek Lewis is still kind of in there, but he's after the loss to Tuivasa, he's a little bit removed. But he has that win over Curtis Blades. So Blades is just his losses have been in such emphatic fashion
Yep.
that they hold him back. But really, he's just got to put his head down and keep winning. I mean, a win over Gon says a lot.
Oh, it
I
does.
mean, I think a win over Gon and you're. Again, we don't know who the champion will be to start the year. Who knows if Ngannou's ever going to fight for the UFC again? But I mean, Blades would be probably in the driver's seat at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was potentially cut with the loss here, and instead I'm considering putting him in a title fight.
Yeah.
Could not have been a better night for Curtis Blades.
Yeah, please let us know, comments and social media. Like, what do
What
you
would
guys
you-
think of this
yeah.
title picture? What does
What do
Blades
you What do you want to be next for Curtis Blades?
Yes,
And
exactly.
now, Dominic, before we move on, we got to talk about Chris Daukaus just a
We
little
do.
bit because this is back-to-back main events for him and ultimately back-to-back knockout losses.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching the post show on MMA Fighting's YouTube channel. I don't watch those guys a lot, but they're good, so
Mm-hmm.
check them out. But they were throwing around this idea because Chris Daukaus is kind of an undersized heavyweight. He's only 240 pounds, and he wears it a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
he's not.
Yeah.
Chris Blades is just a huge built guy.
Yeah, he's big.
Chris Daukaus has a little bit of a little flab on him.
Yeah.
So they were throwing around this idea of him going down to 205 pounds.
Ooh.
Now, I don't really know if I like that because I kind of like what Daukaus brings as an undersized heavyweight.
Yeah.
He's a lot faster than on some of these guys. He's got really good hand speed. But back-to-back losses via TKO, maybe he just can't quite take those big shots against the power of these guys that are 260 pounds outweighing him
Yeah.
by 15, 20 pounds.
That's interesting. I think for this fight he was 243.
Yeah.
So we're talking 37 pounds if you get to 206. I mean, maybe he could cut like some of that, just like the flub as you put it off,
Well,
because
it
they
to me
say
it
it's a lot
would.
easier to cut the weight that way.
I
You
mean,
know,
think about it like this, Dom. It would probably be him like naturally dieting down to like 230, and then he's probably cutting 25
and he
pounds.
he looks like a guy that could get like super. Like I feel like he could have a Stipe body. Like if you
Yeah.
look at him, it looks like he has kind of that same build. That's interesting. I don't want to necessarily go out and say now because I didn't think he should have been fighting Curtis Blades after losing to Derek Lewis.
I agree.
I thought that was a weird matchup. I respected him because if he came in and won, then he launched himself right back in after the loss to Derek Lewis. But especially but I didn't like it going in. Hindsight, I definitely don't like it because it was like if you already lost to, I think he was number 3 at the time. Why did we kind of just rewarded him again and put him back in with another top 5? You don't see that very often.
Hmm.
So I would like to see him try back in top 15. Let's see if he can get a win at heavyweight. See how he looks next, especially like on the feet if he has to go through any more adversity. But if we're talking another loss, especially if it's by KO TKO, maybe like that is a very interesting topic to at least keep front of mind moving forward for Daukaus' career. I think there's potential there for him. I mean, he's
Hmm.
32 and he does have an interesting fight style. So I'm not giving up on heavyweight Daukaus, but light heavyweight is interesting to think about.
Yeah, it's not something I've considered before. It's just once it was brought up, I was
Hmm. You
like
know?
I guess I didn't realize he was that undersized until I saw him up against Curtis Blades, and you can kind of just tell
Yeah.
the size difference there. Now, a potential matchup I could see being next for him next weekend, or not next weekend, UFC 273, 2 weekends from now, has a pretty interesting heavyweight matchup on the prelims. How about the winner of Rosenstruik Tibura?
Yeah.
I think that could be interesting, or even the loser of that fight, maybe, since
Either
you like
or.
the
Yeah.
matchup winners and losers and losers. That would kind of fit the bill.
Yep.
Dawkins still has a lot of potential. I mean, this guy just prior to December of 2021, it was kind of this debate of if him or Tom Aspinall was the real future of the heavyweight division.
Yep.
For now, we seem to have our answer, but that doesn't mean that Dawkins is like not. He doesn't mean that Dawkins can't eventually get right back to where he was at that time as far as momentum. It was a pretty bad loss. I'll admit that, but he's still young enough and fresh enough in this division. There's a lot of fresh matchups
Yeah.
around that he can bounce back. It's just probably take him out of the main event scene for a while, out of this
Hmm.
top 5
Yes.
area for a while. Let him try to work on some of the kinks and get back there as a much better fighter.
Yep. I agree.